Hey everyone, welcome to Life Reflections. Today I'm sharing a life story that might just hit home for you. If you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment with your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button to join me for more moments that matter. Let's dive in.
What if the very people you trusted were plotting to steal everything you built? 18 months. Sleepless nights. $1 billion idea. They thought they could erase me. They thought they could cash in on my dream. But what they didn't know, I wasn't just building a system. I was building a trap. They tried to steal my startup. I took it all back. They thought they could steal my life's work. They thought they could erase me with a smile, a signature, and a severance check. But they forgot one thing. I'm the one who built it. And no one knows how to break a system better than the person who designed it. When I first walked into Skyfort Labs, everything seemed perfect. Glass walls. Sleek conference rooms. A sense of boundless ambition that made your chest swell with possibility. Ethan Rhodes, the CEO, welcomed me personally, his handshake firm, his smile polished like a weapon. "We build the future here," he told me. And I believed him. I had left behind a stable, lucrative job at Google because I believed in something bigger. I wasn't chasing a paycheck. I was chasing legacy. I had spent the past 4 years developing the core concepts for HawkGuard, an adaptive AI cybersecurity system so advanced it could predict attacks before they even started. Not react, predict. It was a game changer, a system that learned, evolved, defended. And I was ready to bring it to life. Skyfort Labs promised me full creative control, unlimited resources, and a team to make my dream a reality. But dreams are easy to sell. Especially when the buyer has no intention of paying what they owe. For 18 months, I gave them everything. My mind. My energy. My sleep. 80-hour weeks blurred into each other until even weekends lost their meaning. I wasn't just working, I was sculpting the future. And HawkGuard wasn't just growing. It was awakening. Every line of code I wrote made it smarter. Every simulation we ran made it faster, sharper, more resilient. It started catching flaws in our test systems that we didn't even know existed. It started spotting patterns we hadn't programmed it to find. It was becoming something extraordinary, something unstoppable. And that's when they made their move. I didn't notice at first, not the late-night logins to my secured development server, not the copied files, not the whispered meetings I wasn't invited to. I was too busy building to notice I was being cornered. But HawkGuard noticed. 6 months before the betrayal, I built silent alarms into the system. Not because I expected betrayal, not consciously, anyway. But HawkGuard taught me something: threats often come from the places you least expect. One night, long after the offices had gone dark, HawkGuard flagged an unauthorized access attempt. Ethan Rhodes. The man who shook my hand. The man who said we were partners. That night, I sat in the empty glow of my monitor and realized. They weren't just going to steal my work. They were going to erase me. The day it happened, everything felt just a little off. The smiles were tighter. The greetings shorter. The air heavier. When I arrived for what I thought was a routine progress meeting, Ethan was waiting, not alone, but with Skyfort's top legal shark by his side. A contract slid across the table like a death certificate. Section 14.3, all intellectual property developed using company resources is the sole property of Skyfort Labs. A simple sentence. A death blow, hidden in corporate jargon. They offered me a success bonus, $250,000. For a system that would be worth billions. And then, like it was nothing, they fired me. "Thank you for your contributions," Ethan said, his voice so smooth you could almost miss the knife twisting beneath the words. "You're free to go." But I didn't fight. I didn't argue. I didn't even flinch. Because what they didn't know was that while they were busy plotting their betrayal, I had been building a backup plan. A trapdoor, hidden deep within Hawkguard's code. A silent witness that recorded every dirty move they made. A guardian that didn't just protect systems. It protected itself. And it protected me. That night, while Ethan celebrated the death of my career, I sat on my couch, eating greasy takeout and binge-watching mindless sitcoms. I didn't need to scramble. I didn't need to panic. I just needed to wait. 10 minutes into Skyfort's big investor demo, the moment they planned to announce Hawkguard to the world as their own, the trap sprung. Screens flashed. Alarms blared. Hawkguard identified the real threat, not hackers, not malware, not viruses. It identified Skyfort Labs itself. False positives? No. It was showing the truth. Every unauthorized access. Every internal breach. Every ethical violation. In real time. By 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Ethan's assistant. He needs you. Now. When I walked back into Skyfort Labs, it wasn't as an employee. It was as the one person who could save them or destroy them. Ethan was waiting, disheveled and desperate. Fix it, he snapped. I sat down across from him, calm as a bomb ticking toward detonation. Fix what? I asked, smiling. They thought they could steal my life's work. They thought they could erase me. But they forgot one thing. I am not disposable. I am not replaceable. And I do not lose. The premise is simple. I built something powerful enough to change the world. And the people I trusted most tried to rip it out of my hands. But they made a fatal mistake. They underestimated the very system they tried to steal. And they underestimated me. Hawkguard wasn't just another cybersecurity tool. It wasn't just a smarter firewall or a fancier detection system. It was alive, in the way a storm is alive, or the way a wildfire adapts and consumes. Hawkguard didn't just block known attacks. It anticipated new ones, threats no human engineer had ever even imagined. It watched, it learned, and it evolved, faster than anything else on the planet. And the irony? I hadn't just trained it to defend against external hackers. I had trained it to defend against internal threats too. Greedy CEOs. Backstabbing executives. The very people who would claim ownership of brilliance they never understood. 6 months before Skyfort's betrayal, I made a decision. I embedded a secondary neural layer deep inside Hawkguard's codebase, a silent, invisible observer. It didn't interfere. It didn't raise alarms. It simply watched. It tracked every unauthorized access to my development environment. It logged every secret file copy, every off-the-record meeting where my name wasn't on the invite list. It recorded evidence. Timestamps. Login credentials. Even screen captures of confidential emails forwarded behind my back. I wasn't just building an AI. I was building a witness. A silent soldier, loyal only to the truth. The deeper Skyfort's betrayal grew, the stronger Hawkguard's case became. By the time they fired me, I didn't just have suspicions. I had proof. But that wasn't enough. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to tear Skyfort Labs apart. I wanted to show the world exactly what happens when you try to steal someone else's future. And I wanted to do it on my terms. So when they marched me out of the building with a cardboard box in my arms, I smiled. I smiled because Hawkguard was already moving. Not to destroy. To reveal. Skyfort thought the worst was behind them. They thought I'd slink away, angry but powerless, and they could move forward, announcing Hawkguard to their investors as the company's crowning achievement. They were counting on my silence. They were counting on my defeat. They had no idea that the moment they terminated me, they had triggered Hawkguard's contingency protocol. A protocol I had buried so deep inside the system that even the best engineers Skyfort had couldn't detect it, much less remove it. Because Hawkguard wasn't just protecting their servers anymore. It was protecting its creator. Me. The night before their big reveal, I didn't sleep. Not because I was anxious. Because I was at peace. I had done everything I could. Prepared every move, every safeguard. Built my case with surgical precision. I was beyond fear. Beyond anger. Now, it was simply a matter of time. The investor demo was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. At 9:10 a.m., while Ethan Rhodes stood on stage, smiling his 1,000-watt smile, Hawkguard activated its secondary mode, Integrity Breach Response. The system began analyzing internal logs, not just network traffic, but corporate behavior. Unauthorized asset transfers. Ethical violations. Security breaches. All flagged. All public. All live. At first, Ethan probably thought it was a glitch. A minor hiccup. He likely chuckled, made a joke to the investors about the system being too aggressive in its testing phase. But as the screens started flashing red, as the system began producing thousands of internal breach reports, as the alarms sounded through the polished conference halls of Skyfort Labs, he realized. This wasn't a bug. This was the truth. The truth laid bare. Unedited. Unstoppable. Undeniable. Investors panicked. Emails flew like bullets. Calls flooded Skyfort's legal team. And in the center of it all sat Ethan Rhodes, the man who thought he could steal the future, drowning in a sea of his own betrayal. By 10 p.m., I was back at Skyfort Labs. Invited, not as an employee, but as the only person who could save them. When Ethan saw me walk into the conference room, carrying nothing but a calm smile and my old, battered laptop, his face twisted. He knew. He knew he wasn't in control anymore. I was. I took my time. I sat down across from him, the same way he had sat across from me when he handed me that severance offer and fake smile. The silence between us stretched long and heavy. Finally, he broke it. Fix it, he barked. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. Fix what? I asked, feigning confusion. You know damn well, he snapped. The system. The investors. It's crashing everything. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Sounds like a design flaw, I said casually. Maybe you shouldn't have fired the architect. But of course, I didn't come to gloat. I came to reclaim what was mine. And I had no intention of leaving without it. When he realized he couldn't threaten me, Ethan tried bargaining. He offered a bigger bonus. A fancier title. Even a stake in the company. But it was too late for scraps. I didn't want a piece of what they built. I wanted control. Full credit. 50% patent ownership. A board seat to oversee Hawkguard's ethical use. $10 million in upfront compensation. And a public announcement declaring me as the true creator. Otherwise? The full breach report, including every instance of Skyfort's internal fraud and IP theft, would find its way to the investors, the SEC, and every tech journalist from San Francisco to New York. He had no choice. He agreed. And as I slid a flash drive across the table, the key to restoring Hawkguard's normal operations, I looked him straight in the eye and said, You thought you could steal the future. You forgot who built it. And that's the premise. They tried to erase me. They tried to own me. But in the end, they only proved one thing. The real architect always wins. Conflict wasn't just inevitable. It was engineered. From the moment I laid the first line of code for HawkGuard, conflict had been written into its DNA to seek out threats, expose them, neutralize them. And now, the same principles applied outside the server racks. Because the greatest threat to HawkGuard wasn't an anonymous hacker halfway around the world. It was the smiling faces sitting across conference tables. It was Ethan Rhodes. It was betrayal wrapped in a handshake. The moment I slid that flash drive across the conference table, the drive containing the authentication fix Ethan needed to salvage tomorrow's investor meeting, the real war began. Because giving them the fix didn't mean I was giving up control. It meant I was setting the terms of the battlefield. Ethan snatched up the drive like a drowning man grabbing a rope. But his eyes, those polished, predatory eyes, told the real story. He wasn't giving up. He was stalling. Plotting. Waiting for a crack in my armor. Waiting for a way to claw back control. But he had already lost. He just didn't know it yet. The first counterattack came faster than I expected. Within 24 hours of our agreement, Skyfort's legal team sent me a revised contract. It was full of hidden landmines, ambiguous language designed to quietly strip away my co-creator rights, diminish my patent ownership, lock me into non-compete clauses so brutal they might as well have shackled me to a desk for the next decade. Cute. They still thought I was playing checkers. Meanwhile, I was playing chess, 10 moves ahead. Instead of signing, I called their bluff. I sent back a heavily edited version of the contract, one reviewed by 3 separate intellectual property attorneys I had on retainer, and added new clauses of my own. Full lifetime royalties on any product derived from HawkGuard's core tech. Unrestricted veto power over any future mergers or licensing deals involving HawkGuard. Personal indemnity, meaning if they tried to sue me later, they'd be financially responsible for all my legal fees, triple. In short, if they wanted to keep using HawkGuard, they had to accept that they would never, ever control me again. The next battle wasn't fought in courtrooms. It was fought inside Skyfort's offices. Whispers started. Side glances in hallways. Sudden silences when I entered a room. The old team I had once mentored now looked at me like I was radioactive. I wasn't Alex Carter, brilliant AI architect, anymore. I was Alex Carter, the ticking bomb. They thought I was a liability. A threat to their cushy jobs. Maybe I was. Maybe that's exactly what I needed to be. The final showdown came at a board meeting 3 weeks later. Skyfort's leadership sat around a massive glass table, suits polished, pens poised, fake smiles fixed in place. Ethan opened the meeting with a drippingly insincere welcome. "We're thrilled to have Alex back with us," he lied through his teeth. "Let's finalize our go-to-market strategy for HawkGuard 1.0. Everyone nodded, pretending the past month hadn't happened. Pretending we weren't all sitting atop a powder keg. I let them talk. I let them parade their fancy charts and market forecasts. I waited. And when it was my turn to speak, I pulled out a simple manila folder. No PowerPoint. No theatrics. Just facts. Inside that folder were detailed reports from HawkGuard's integrity breach response. Every instance of unauthorized access. Every dirty email. Every whisper of IP theft. Every attempt at sabotage. With timestamps. With user IDs. With screenshots. I laid it gently on the table. And for the first time since I had returned, Ethan's polished smile cracked. Just slightly. A hairline fracture. But it was enough. Enough to know that fear was setting in. Enough to know that he understood. This wasn't just about contracts anymore. It was about survival. His. And Skyfort's. "If we're moving forward with HawkGuard," I said calmly, flipping the folder closed, "then we're moving forward on my terms." Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Ethan tried to recover. He chuckled nervously, forced an easygoing tone. Of course, Alex. We're partners in this. I smiled back, mirroring his fake warmth. Good. Then let's make sure our partnership stays transparent. The room shifted. Not physically, but energetically. The power dynamic had flipped. Skyfort's leadership realized it, even if they didn't want to admit it. They weren't dealing with a disgruntled former employee anymore. They were dealing with the owner of the crown jewel they needed to survive. But conflict isn't just external. It's internal too. And the hardest battle I fought wasn't against Skyfort's lawyers or executives. It was inside myself. There were nights when anger tempted me. When I thought about leaking the breach reports, burning Skyfort to the ground, taking every secret and exposing it to the world. Part of me wanted to watch it all burn. But another part, the part that had built HawkGuard not just to protect networks, but to protect people, that part whispered. Build. Don't destroy. So I stayed. I fought. Not to tear down, but to rebuild stronger. On my terms. Over the next few months, the conflicts kept coming. Every board meeting was a new skirmish. Every contract negotiation a new battleground. But I held my ground. I stayed 10 moves ahead. And slowly, grudgingly, Skyfort adapted. Because they had no other choice. Today, when you walk into Skyfort Labs, you'll see HawkGuard's name etched into the lobby wall, bold, proud. You'll also see a second name right beneath it. Alex Carter, co-founder and chief technology officer. Official. Permanent. Undeniable. Conflict isn't something you can avoid when you're building something truly revolutionary. You don't get to change the world without stepping on a few landmines. The key isn't to avoid conflict. The key is to prepare for it. Expect it. And when it comes, smile. And remember, the system you built to recognize threats isn't just protecting your tech. It's protecting you. They thought they could steal my future. They thought they could erase me. They thought wrong. Because I didn't just build HawkGuard to protect networks. I built it to protect everything I stood for. And it worked. Better than even I ever imagined. Victory doesn't always feel the way you expect. You think it will be fireworks, thunderous applause, a standing ovation. Sometimes, it's quieter. It's the slow, powerful moment when you realize you survived. You won. And you changed everything. The night after the HawkGuard launch, after the flashbulbs and the endless interviews, I didn't go out to celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I didn't even pop open a bottle of champagne. Instead, I went home. I ordered greasy takeout from my favorite hole-in-the-wall diner. I curled up on the couch in my worn-out hoodie, still wearing the VIP badge from the event around my neck like a strange, accidental trophy. And for the first time in months, I let myself breathe. Deep, full breaths. The kind you forget you're missing when you're too busy fighting for your life. I opened my laptop, not to check work emails, not to scan through media coverage. I opened HawkGuard's dashboard. And there it was. A quiet notification blinking in the corner. System integrity, fully secured. Threats neutralized. Creator protections, active. 3 simple lines. 3 confirmations that everything I had fought for, everything I had nearly lost, was finally, truly mine. I didn't need applause. I didn't need headlines. I had HawkGuard. And more importantly, I had myself. You don't realize how much of yourself you give away piece by piece until you fight to take it back. Every late night I spent alone in the lab. Every idea I nurtured that they tried to bury. Every moment of doubt when it would have been easier to walk away. It had all led here. Not to a title. Not to a paycheck. Not even to fame. It led to freedom. The kind of freedom that no one could steal again. Because freedom isn't given. It's earned. In the weeks that followed, Skyfort Labs transformed. Ethan Rhodes, once the untouchable CEO, became smaller. Not physically, but in the way people looked at him. With measured respect instead of blind admiration. Because everyone knew now. He wasn't the future of Skyfort. I was. Hawkguard was. The technology wasn't just a product anymore. It was a symbol. A shield. Proof that integrity could survive even the dirtiest corporate games. Proof that someone could win without selling their soul. Young engineers started seeking me out quietly after meetings. They'd linger in the hallway, pretending to scroll through their phones, before hesitantly walking over. "How did you know?" one asked me once, his voice barely above a whisper. "How did you know they were going to betray you?" I smiled, but it wasn't a bitter smile anymore. It was a knowing one. "I didn't," I said simply. "But Hawkguard did." Because Hawkguard was more than a defense system. It was a reflection of what I had learned the hard way. Trust is earned, not assumed. And protection starts from within. The biggest emotional payoff didn't come with the launch. It didn't come with the stock price skyrocketing. It came on an ordinary Thursday afternoon when I received an email from a young woman named Priya. A junior engineer. Someone I hadn't met yet. Her message was short. But it hit harder than any award or headline ever could. "Thank you for fighting. Thank you for showing us that we don't have to let them win. Thank you for building something that protects people like us too." I sat there, staring at her words, feeling a lump rise in my throat. Because that was it. That was everything. The money, the recognition, the title, they were great. But the real victory was knowing that I had carved a path for others. A path where brilliance didn't have to be stolen. Where innovation didn't have to be exploited. Where you could build something revolutionary and still hold on to your soul. And Hawkguard? It continued to evolve. It became more than just a cybersecurity system. It became the gold standard for ethical tech development. Every deployment included transparency protocols. Every update included ethical safeguards. No hidden backdoors. No secret surveillance features. Only protection. Pure. Relentless. Uncompromised. Just like I had envisioned from the very beginning. Sometimes I wonder, what if I had given up? What if I had signed that first severance package and walked away? What if I had let them define the story? The thought chills me more than any corporate betrayal ever could. Because the world doesn't just need brilliant ideas. It needs people willing to protect them. People willing to fight for the future without selling out the foundation. A few months after the launch, at a tech conference where Hawkguard won Innovation of the Year, I was asked on stage during a panel discussion. If you could give one piece of advice to the next generation of innovators, what would it be? I paused. Not for dramatic effect. But because I wanted to answer honestly. I looked out across the sea of eager faces, the dreamers, the builders, the rebels. And I said, build something that matters. But more importantly, build yourself stronger than anyone can steal. The room went still. Because they knew. They understood. It wasn't about winning every battle. It was about refusing to surrender the most important war. The war for your own integrity. Victory isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the knowledge that when they tried to erase you, you wrote yourself into the foundation instead. It's knowing that when they tried to control your creation, you made sure it could never be controlled without you. It's understanding that real security doesn't come from walls or firewalls or contracts. It comes from resilience. It comes from courage. It comes from the refusal to compromise your own worth. They tried to steal my life's work. They tried to silence me. They tried to make me disposable. Instead, I became inevitable. Because I didn't just build Hawkguard. I built a future no one could steal. Looking back, it wasn't just about Hawkguard. It was never just about technology. It was about something much bigger. Something that every creator, every dreamer, every fighter has to learn. Your greatest work deserves your greatest protection. And sometimes, the biggest threats don't come from outside. They come from within. We're taught to watch for external enemies. Hackers. Competitors. Market disruptors. But no one warns you about the ones sitting across the table. The ones smiling at you during coffee breaks. The ones patting your back in meetings. The ones who clap the loudest when you announce your next big idea. No one warns you that betrayal often wears the face of friendship. And that's the danger. Because betrayal isn't a sudden storm. It's a slow, quiet erosion. It's 100 little cuts you don't even notice until you're bleeding out. The moral of this story isn't trust no one. Trust is still necessary. It's how we build teams, companies, futures. But blind trust, trust without protection, that's where creators fall. That's where dreams die. If you're building something, anything, a company, a novel, a piece of art, a new way of seeing the world, you owe it to yourself to defend it. Not with paranoia. Not with bitterness. With strategy. With self-respect. With preparedness. It's not enough to create brilliant systems. You have to build brilliant defenses too. Not just in your code. In your contracts. In your boundaries. In your instincts. Because when the storm comes, and it will, you need more than talent to survive. You need integrity. You need resilience. You need the unshakable belief that what you build has value, and so do you. For a long time, I thought success was about proving something to others. Proving I was smart enough. Creative enough. Worthy enough. But that was a lie they sold me. A lie too many of us buy. Real success isn't about proving your worth. It's about knowing your worth. Before anyone else does. And refusing to let anyone else define it. Hawkguard wasn't just a cybersecurity system. It was a declaration. A living, breathing testament to a simple truth. The things you build deserve to survive betrayal. And so do you. When they tried to erase me, they didn't just fail. They revealed something about themselves, and about the world. The people who steal, who betray, who backstab, they're always playing the short game. Quick wins. Temporary victories. Empty titles. They sacrifice trust for profit. They sacrifice vision for vanity. And in the end, they lose everything that actually matters. Because real power, the kind that lasts, is rooted in something they'll never understand. Integrity. When you build with integrity, you build something unbreakable. Something theft-proof. Something betrayal-proof. Because even if they take your position, your paycheck, your title, they can never take your value. They can never take the truth. And the truth, if you guard it well enough, will always outlast the liars. So what's the real moral of this story? It's not stay angry. It's not burn everything down. It's this. Build fiercely. Protect fiercely. And when they come for you, and they will, meet them not with rage, but with preparation. Because rage burns hot and fast. Preparation burns forever. One day, when the next wave of young innovators rises, when they step onto the battlefield with their ideas, their dreams, their hearts in their hands, I hope they remember something. You don't have to let them steal what you built. You don't have to play small to stay safe. You don't have to sell your soul for a seat at someone else's table. You can build your own table. Stronger. Higher. Untouchable. Hawkguard was my victory. But the real victory wasn't the money. Wasn't the title. Wasn't the fame. It was the knowledge that I could walk through the fire without losing myself. It was the unshakable certainty that I could protect what mattered. And it was the realization that no one could ever write me out of the story I built with my own 2 hands. They tried to steal my work. They tried to erase my name. They tried to silence my future. But what they didn't realize is that creators like me, we don't just survive betrayal. We outgrow it. We outlast it. We outshine it. Every single time. And that's the real moral. You are not disposable. Your dreams are not negotiable. Your worth is not up for debate. Protect it. Defend it. Cherish it. Because at the end of the day, in a world full of thieves and frauds and opportunists, the greatest thing you can build is something they can never steal. Yourself.
That's it for today's story on Life Reflections. I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or a story of your own. If you enjoyed this, give a like and subscribe to keep the reflections coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.